Announcements.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be happy to call roll for the September 28th, 2009 special called meeting. However, I would like to remind those in attendance to please silence all cell phones at this time. Additionally, those attending the meeting who would like to provide public comment during the call for public comment, you are required to complete a public comment card prior to speaking on that item. Those called to speak will be taken in order that the speaker cards were received by City Clerk staff. All speakers will identify themselves by name, address, and organization if applicable. When you hear the bell, you'll have 30 seconds to complete your remarks. As I call roll, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Joe Lockwood.
Here.
Councilmember Karen Thurman.
Here.
Councilmember Julie Zonner Bailey is not present at this time. Councilmember Bill Lusk.
Here.
Councilmember Bert Hewitt.
Here.
Councilmember Tina Diaversa.
Here.
Councilmember Alan Tart.
Here.
Thank you. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk, please sound the next item.
First item is approval of the meeting agenda. Agenda item number 09943. Staff would like to add staff reports to tonight's agenda. That's all of staff's recommendations.
Are there any other items to be considered? If not, do I have a motion and a second?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the meeting agenda as modified. Agenda item number 09943.
Second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Luss, second by Councilmember Thurman. Do I hear any discussion? Hearing none.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Okay, do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, let's move on to the public hearing. Will the City Clerk please sound the item?
Approval of an ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the City of Milton, Georgia to fix the ad valorem tax rate of the City of Milton for fiscal year 2009 and for other purposes. Ms. Stacy Inglis? Excuse me, sir. First public hearing on September 21st. Second public hearing on September 21st at 6 o'clock. Previous one was at 5:45. Ms. Inglis, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. According to the Official Code of Georgia, 48-5-32, we are required to hold 3 public hearings. This is the third and final public hearing. As mentioned by Ms. Marcia Fava, the first 2 were held on September 21st at 5:45 and at 6 o'clock. The adoption of the millage rate will also take place right after this public hearing today. According to the city charter, we are required to use the same billing and due date that Fulton County uses. As far as I know, they're still planning on billing on October 15th, maybe sometime in October, with a due date 60 days later. The total tax digest is $2,131,102,674. Total taxes levied will be $10,082,247. Of that will be property taxes at $9.5 million and motor vehicle taxes at $546,000. There is a property tax decrease of about 2.29%, and the millage rate remains the same as it has for the past 2 years at 4.731 mills.
Okay, do we have any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Is there any council discussion or questions for Ms. Inglis? Okay. We'll move on to unfinished business. City Clerk, please sound the next item.
Item number 09944, approval of an ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the City of Milton, Georgia to fix the ad valorem tax rate of the City of Milton for fiscal year 2009 and for other purposes. Ms. Inglis?
You've just heard the third and final public hearing. Staff recommends that you adopt a millage rate of 4.731 mills for 2009 taxes.
Is there any questions, council? Okay, do I have a motion and a second?
Mayor, I move to approve an ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the City of Milton, Georgia to fix an ad valorem tax rate of the City of Milton for fiscal year 2009 for other purposes, Agenda 09-944.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Tart, second by Councilmember Hewitt. Any discussion? Hearing none.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Okay. Added by motion and vote. We've got some staff reports. Mr. City Manager?
Council, I've got 3
tonight. A couple of housekeeping items, and then one that warrants maybe a little bit further discussion, just so you're aware as to some of the things we'll be doing later this week. The first one is just a matter of formality. I've got 2 emergency purchases to notify you of that were directly related to the storms that we had last week and roadways that we needed to get back open, particularly as it related to 2 bridges, one on Cogburn Road and one on Birmingham Road. The Cogburn Road Bridge is the one that's near St. Francis School. The 3 items that we had to do there was provide and place fill material to allow for proper drainage at the bridge approaches, fill material placed to be lower surge stone compacted in the shoulder to allow for proper drainage, and to excavate the failed edge of roadway and place a concrete patch to finish that grade. That emergency purchase was made in the amount of $4,200. That was completed on Friday, September the 25th. As well as a bridge on Birmingham Road. You may or may not have seen the detours and the road closures up there. We had to remove an existing bridge approach, fill in compact the void under the roadway, restore the road surface with concrete, remove a section of a wooden wing wall, replace one timber pile, reconstruct a wing wall with 3-inch oak material, fill and compact the shoulder, grade to allow for proper drainage, and seed and straw all the disturbed areas. That was completed over the weekend at a cost of $18,647.50. Answer any questions you might have, but more or less this is just notifying you to maintain conformance with our purchasing policies, that we had some emergency expenses as it related to the storm. There will likely be some additional, and I'll bring those to you as they occur. And keep in mind that as we find the opportunity to potentially seek reimbursement for some of these expenses, we have ourselves positioned such that we're keeping the correct data for FEMA as well as for GEMA. So when those opportunities present themselves, if they do, we should be prepared to seek reimbursement. That was item number 1. Item number 2 I want to talk about, and this one in a little bit more detail, is where we are with respect to the service delivery strategy with Fulton County. To give you a little bit of a background, a service delivery strategy is a document that both the county as well as the municipalities and other identified areas in Fulton County form some type of agreement with. And really what it does, or it kind of boil it down to its lowest level, what it's really trying to do is avoid duplication of services. That if the county provides something, we shouldn't provide it. And if we provide it, the county shouldn't provide it. That's what it's ultimately, or that's what its ultimate goal is. As any good I guess negotiation, when you stick 17 signatories in a room, we are at a position at this point that we have reached amongst the city and the county impasse on several issues that relate to the service delivery strategy. Some issues we have, representing Milton, some other municipalities have within Fulton County. Nevertheless, we have an October the 31st deadline to agree on the service delivery strategy, or as it stands at this point, we would come out of compliance with the law, with the service delivery strategy. Taking them in order to kind of give you an idea as to where we stand with the county at this point in our negotiations, is there's some disagreement with elections, there's some disagreement with roadway repairs, there's some disagreement with water as well as wastewater, and who provides what of those services. The election issue is really tabled at this point pending some further information from Fulton County, which collectively as the cities we have asked for. The roadway repair largely focuses on Fulton County believing that they can use general fund dollars to fund pass-through road repair in unincorporated Fulton County, where they're only using the South Fulton Tax District to fund repaving of subdivision streets in the unincorporated area of Fulton County. And as cities, we just fundamentally believe that that's not a good use of general fund dollars. In fact, if they can use general fund dollars to do that in South Fulton unincorporated, I would suggest they come pave our pass-through roads in the city of Milton. So we have reached kind of an area where we don't agree as it relates to that. The other is water and wastewater. Now, we really don't have a dog in the water issue. That is primarily an issue right now that is between the city of Atlanta and the city of Sandy Springs. But we'll be at the table, obviously, making sure that we don't have an issue with it. That's something that really Alpharetta, Roswell, Milton, we have one water provider, that's Fulton County. We don't want it to be anybody other than that at this point. So we really don't have an issue with water. Wastewater we have somewhat of an issue with, and we'll certainly be at the table
to talk about wastewater. In that, Fulton County at this point has suggested that they incorporate into the service delivery strategy I'll just call it what we know it to be. I'll call it their sewer map and our sewer map because that makes sense to all of us. The sewer map that has been delivered to us from Fulton County that dates back to 2008 is the one that they would like to move into the service delivery strategy, and I just don't have the authority to go down there and agree to that because that is a document that you all have passed something that's directly in conflict with. That having been said, we'll see where that goes. The way these things get resolved is typically through some type of formal mediation process. We tried informal mediation last week, and that was not successful, to say the least. We'll go back again this Wednesday and spend a good deal of time trying to hash through the final steps of the service delivery strategy. The risk we run is that if we don't come to an agreement on something, for the period of time that we're out of compliance, at least as it's interpreted today, is we lose all opportunity for any state funding as well as the opportunity for any state permits. We have compiled kind of a list as to what that means to the city of Milton if we were to lose the ability to apply for a permit or the ability to seek state funding. And over the next 5 years, that equates to about $5.8 million to the city of Milton. So a lot of money hangs in the balance with the city, with our city, but particularly with the county as a whole. A lot of money hangs in the balance with us figuring out how we can get to some type of an agreement on these topics so that we can have this document in place so that we don't run those risks of losing all that funding. One of the things that we will discuss this week, and one of the things I may bring back in front of you, likely will, in a coming council meeting, is asking that you adopt a resolution that would request a 120-day extension to the service delivery strategy that currently exists. Your city attorney and I will have to figure out how we navigate through that. There have already been 2 cities in South Fulton County that have adopted resolutions opposing an extension. So we know at the very least that we don't even have a collective group of 17 people that would say, let's roll up our sleeves and sharpen our pencils and get back to the table. We've got 2 groups that have already opposed an extension, and it deals with being identified in the service delivery strategy with the South Fulton Sewer and Water Authority and their ability to get a permit for a reservoir. So it's a terribly complicated issue, but one that they believe, as their elected body, that they cannot stand behind an extension. So we'll have to work and figure out how all that works. I think the other cities collectively here in the north share the same opinion that I share with this, and that is that there's no way that we can get something between now and October the 31st. There's some cities that even have longer process than we have now in a month to just get their councils to agree to a document, and we don't even have a document to put in front of you today. So I hope at the end of the day that we're successful in figuring out a way that we can either mediate this thing or get an extension so that we can mediate this thing. The last thing that, at least in my opinion, we want to do is not have an agreement on a service delivery strategy, because I really think that we don't want to, none of us are in a position where we want to risk not being able to have state funding or the ability to apply for a state permit. So anybody have any questions about that? I just wanted to bring you up to date because last week's informal mediation didn't go so hot. And we're going to take a better attempt at it this week, and we're not really going to mediation this week. We're more drilling down in these issues before we go to a mediator to be able to get all the issues out on the table so we don't spend 2 days trying to bring a mediator up to speed as to what is contested in the service delivery strategy.
Bill, what's the compelling issue then that all of these jurisdictions have to either agree or not agree?
Sorry, I don't understand your question.
You said there's, a couple cities down in South Fulton that oppose an extension. How does that have a bearing on us?
Well, that's what we're going to have to work through because, I don't know that any of us necessarily understand what, let's just say 15 people support an extension and 2 don't. Ken and I have talked about that, and that's reasonably compelling to somebody, whoever that decision. This is all in DCA's court, is where the service delivery strategy resides. But if I just have a hard time answering your question because I don't know what 15 out of 17 or 14 out of 17 or even 13 out of 17. I don't know what the tipping point is, or if it has to be 17 out of 17. So I can tell you to this point, it has been cordial and all that. We've been working together and all that good stuff, and I have erred on the side of saving our legal dollars by having our city attorney necessarily there at each one of the meetings. I believe, truly believe, I wouldn't pull that trigger, needless, or for lack of a better term, to have him spend all day with me next Wednesday or this Wednesday down there if we didn't need him. But now is the time that we need to get we need to make sure that Milton is protected. And I think we share some of the same values as many of our other cities up here in the north part of Fulton County. At least I know the city administrators or city managers of the 5 cities up here. We all pretty much agree on where we stand at this point. So I don't know where that leaves us, Bill. I'm sorry. That's to answer your question. I'm not sure what 15 out of 17 does. I don't know that Ken, if I'd put him on the spot, it probably doesn't know what that does tonight either.
No, I mean, it's, obviously you'd like to have consensus on your SDS negotiations, because the thought would be the cities would have a united front, and they would want to obviously protect themselves and make sure the document speaks to what services they're providing versus what Fulton is providing, and we'd all be working together. When Chris told me that 2 cities had already passed resolutions being against an extension, I wasn't exactly sure what to make of that. I mean, to affirmatively say we want no additional time to negotiate is a little bit of an odd position for me. Clearly, they must think there is some advantage to their position if there's a time pressure on them or on Fulton. That's got to be it. That's the only thing I can think of, because clearly the other cities aren't there. But I don't know the answer, and so maybe on Wednesday when we go down there, we can find out what is exactly driving the objective, because I can't disagree, or I can't agree with your city manager more. Even if everything fell into place nicely on Wednesday, and we basically had the outline of a draft on Wednesday, if you're trying to tell me that 15, 17 municipalities and Fulton County are going to adopt and agree on something by the end of October, the resolution that the sky is blue would likely not get passed that quickly. And I'm not trying to be glib, but it just doesn't work that quickly. So I think we need more time.
So all of these jurisdictions are not operating with separate agreements with the county, then it's one joint agreement?
Yes, sir.
And all of them lose the
They
ability
lose
to
their
apply for
qualified
state funding,
municipal status.
including Fulton County.
That is correct,
Yeah.
and that's one of the takeaways that we had from the last meeting. And there's a couple that said that's an exercise that's not worth doing, and some said it's an exercise worth doing. We obviously that was about as much agreement as we had in that whole meeting. We obviously put the work into figuring out what the dollar figure was for the city of Milton. And I think at some point we need to see that dollar figure on a county level and say, okay, now's the time for us to get serious and let's get to some agreement here, because tens of millions of dollars will hang in the balance for this county. It happens to be the largest county in the state and likely has the biggest impact of any county in the state. So, we're a seat at the table. I wish it was something that there was only 2 or 3 of us trying to get along on the topic. It's there's just a lot of issues that are looming out there that we've got to figure out how to navigate through. And this is something that's important enough. I'll now continuously get you the updates as we near the October the 31st day. I don't know what will come out of this week. This is just another session that we'll hopefully know more specifically what the actual disagreement was. ARC tried to informally mediate it last week. And ARC really doesn't have to even get involved. They did in hopes that they could potentially bring the groups to some version of a consensus, and we're not. And it's not that we're not there. We have small issues in the service delivery strategy. There are issues, but we have some small issues compared to what some of the other municipalities have really reached impasse on their topics.
And it may be we have to go to DCA and petition them to allow us to enter into separate agreements and just work through our issues and do it that way. Whether they'll allow that, I don't know. But, I have every reason to believe that Chris is accurate. And if there's these tremendous issues that are blocking us from resolving our little issues, that doesn't seem to make much sense to me.
The tremendous issue, unfortunately, is water, and that's the one we really don't have any issue with. So, these meetings always get drawn into water, and and that's fine because we got to get agreement there too. But our issues are really in some of the other more outlying things that rise to a level of disagreement at this point.
I have a question on the first point. Have we done a survey of all of the bridges in town?
Is,
Do we have a report?
Carter
on it?
probably could give you a report on that.
Are there any others?
They have been.
I can give you a quick rundown on that. The two bridges, is that on?
Yeah, good.
Okay. The two bridges that we're working on right now are, we made some emergency repairs to the Cogburn Road Bridge on Friday to try and stabilize that. We'll probably try and accelerate that replacement of that structure for the coming year. The ones that sustained the most damage were these that had the old wooden abutments and wing walls. And so Cogburn Road and the Birmingham Road Bridge that we currently have one lane closed on had the most damage. We'll start construction on the Birmingham Road to save that up on Wednesday and hopefully be done by the weekend. So in that particular case, we have a void that's probably 4 feet wide, 10 feet underneath the road. That's washed out and collapsed. So we'll be rebuilding that wooden wing wall, unfortunately, and then backfilling that, cutting about one lane out. So hopefully that'll be up and functioning by the end of the week. Batesville Road, Wood Road, and Dinsmore all sustained some damage to the abutments. So there'll be some repairs underneath the bridge, but the structure is sound, so that won't be a problem. There was a culvert up on Mountain Road. We've lost the shoulder there, and we lost the back end of the cul-de-sac at Canterbury Lane. All the gravel roads sustained some damage to some extent. Lackey and Sweet Apple were the worst. We've got those closed, pending repairs, but they all have damage to the shoulders and the drainage rutting across the roads. With the exception of Summit and Brindle and Nix, they fared pretty well. So most of the others will have some scope of repair on those. Residential-wise, we haven't heard a whole lot. We had 3 or 4 that we know of. I don't know if people are just taking care of these, but we'd like to get the word out that if anybody did sustain damage to their property, to let us know. We can try and pass that word along to FEMA. We thought the FEMA assessment team would be up here this week. We're kind of waiting for them, and we can pass that information along. And my experience in the past is they've sent teams out to those properties that were damaged and gone over what the options were for those folks. So we didn't hear a lot about those. But from the extent of, I guess, what the original question was, roads and bridges, that's what we've seen so far.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
The only other one, last staff report I've got tonight is more just a planning issue. And it's planning because I know we have had some discussion, and particularly with Councilmember D'Aversa, as it relates to the Christmas tree planting. I met with staff today and went over kind of a process that if we were going to do a Christmas tree planting later this month, actually next month, I guess we're still in September, that we really might be transplanting that tree too soon based on the weather. When I met with our arborist, he said, it has a chance, and a decent chance, but it has a much better chance, especially with its size, of being transplanted sometime in late November, December, or January. Those trees are typically transplanted in the wintertime, and they have a much better success rate. Having heard that from our arborist, I can tell you, last thing I want to do is move a tree that's supposed to be a Milton icon and have it not do well. What I throw out to y'all as kind of a suggestion tonight, I know we were contemplating 2 separate events, one being kind of the planting event and one being the lighting event. I'm wondering, and I believe after our discussion with staff today, we could facilitate kind of a planting/lighting event all in the same day, and more or less turn it into an event that's possible for the city of Milton on more of on kind of a bigger scale, where it actually gets planted in the morning and we have all the people that are staged to light it with the right trucks and stuff so that it gets lit, gets wired to be lit midday, and actually culminates that evening when it gets dark with the official tree lighting in Milton's first year. Looking at a calendar and when that might be a possibility, focused in on a couple of different dates. The first one, which would be probably the soonest that we could do it, and might be the best day actually, would be Saturday, November the 28th. I say Saturday, November the 28th because that is the first Saturday that occurs once we get past Thanksgiving, which typically is when you move from one season into the next. That's late November. We could push it back a week and maybe go the first Saturday in December. Mark Law tells me the tree has a much better chance of surviving long term if we were to push it back and do it when we were comfortable that the temperatures were going to be a little bit colder. So I throw that out to you, not that I'm asking for anybody necessarily to plan the event. I just want you to be comfortable with what happens and when it happens. If you were going to look for a recommendation from me, I would say November the 28th
Is
is
that
probably
the
it.
Saturday right after Thanksgiving?
It is.
I would
Think that's
push
too
it
soon?
to I would push it to the first week of December myself because I think people are going to be more able to come and participate when they're back from the holidays.
I'm good with that too. That would be December the 5th.
Everybody else.
I will be out of town then.
December the 5th? Well, I mean, either way,
Okay.
it's fine with me, 28th or the 5th.
Okay.
I'll be here, but
Linda?
Excuse me, Chris,
Hey, Linda.
the Christmas and crab apple is December 5th, first Saturday in December.
Okay.
12th, which is the next.
Sorry.
The 12th doesn't keep it lit enough.
Oh, okay,
No.
that's true.
what about the week before, the Saturday before Thanksgiving? Are all of you guys in town then?
21st?
Will it live then?
I'd hesitate.
You know, that's a difficult. We're just trying to give it its optimal conditions, and would it live if we planted it on October the 24th? Sure. I mean, the answer is probably still yes. I mean, but if we have a chance to manage some of our risk and really move it into when it has a better chance to live, I think we're better doing that. So really, at this point, we're looking at November 21 or December 12.
I would vote for the 21st only because I think December 12th is so late for a Christmas tree.
Okay. All right.
Unless you want to talk to Mark Law, if he just strongly says, you wait 2 more weeks, you give a 50% better chance or something.
Yeah, I'll go back and talk with him today. He just, we looked at its size. The thing's 20 feet tall. There's still a chance of the temperatures being warm, and there's still a chance once we put it in, if we put it in the ground too soon, that doesn't necessarily mean that we run the risk of losing it, but we also spend a lot of money keeping it alive, where we have a better chance of planting it when it gets cold. I learned all about trees today. I learned about the difference between field dug and container grown, and all sorts of good stuff about how you transplant a tree. But when he boiled it down to what I understood, it was, Chris, wait a couple weeks before you plant this thing, and you have a better chance of it living.
I'd suggest you talk to him about the 21st. If he concurs that that's fine, I think that'd be fine. Sounds like people will be more available then. But if he does not concur, then maybe you just shoot an email to council and say either whatever the 28th or the 5th and get a consensus of, who can be there and who
Sounds
can't,
good.
and count the numbers.
Excellent. That was what I have tonight, unless y'all have any questions for us.
Okay. I'll conclude our special meeting. Do I have a motion? We adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second motion.
No discussion?
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Meeting adjourned, 5:29.